My brother's voice sliced through the ballroom with the precision of a knife gliding through soft butter. This is my rather unpleasant sister. No genuine work, lacking prospects, merely a laborer. 200 individuals clad in tailored designer suits glanced in my direction. Champagne flutes suspended in a moment of anticipation. Someone truly gasped. There I was, clad in my finest jeans and the silk blouse I had chosen with great care. In this moment, I could feel the warmth flush my cheeks as the sound of laughter danced through the crowd. Gregory lifted his glass with a sly grin. My own brother at his merger celebration, in the presence of all those who held significance in his life. And the most disheartening aspect was the smile on my mother's face. Not a broad grin, just that subtle little, the look she consistently had when Gregory asserted his dominance over me. She concurred, though her politeness held her back from expressing it directly. Allow me step back. I'm Susie Fowle. I am 34 years of age, and based on my family's perspective, I'm the disappointment who digs ditches for existing. Here's the truth they remain unaware of. I manage a team of 47 employees in the field of landscape architecture spread across 3 locations. Regions. In the previous year, we achieved a revenue of $11 million. This year, we have successfully secured a $4.2 million agreement with the city for the revitalization of the downtown riverfront. Endeavor. My company has had the honor of being featured in Architectural Digest on 2 occasions. We emerged victorious and in the Morrison Park restoration has been honored with a National Design Award. But of course, I'm just the messy sister who enjoys getting dirty. I haven't shared any of this with my family. It's not about the money, the accolades, or even the reality that my weekly payroll amounts to $47,000. I suppose I held a somewhat innocent belief that in time, they would recognize my true self without any monetary value influencing their perception. That perhaps, just perhaps, they could embrace their daughter and sister with love freely, without any conditions. First, ascertain my net worth. Just a heads up, they didn't. Gregory is 38, 4 years more seasoned than I am, and 4 centuries more conceited. He is involved in finance, which in our family essentially translates to him navigating H2O. Since landing his first internship at 22, Mom has affectionately referred to him as her little success story. Each Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every random Tuesday phone call somehow leads back to Gregory's latest. The promotion? Gregory's new vehicle? Gregory's key clients? What about me? Susie's continuing with her charming gardening pursuits. It's not about gardening, Mom. I must have mentioned it to her around 7,000 times. I am a certified landscape architect. I create outdoor environments, oversee construction endeavors, and operate a business with a range of vehicles, of equipment valued at a sum exceeding that of Gregory's home. That's lovely, dear. But when will you pursue a more traditional career? Well, something within that keeps you clean. Years ago, I ceased my attempts to provide explanations. Not every battle is worth the struggle. At least that was my assumption. 3 weeks prior to his grand merger celebration, Gregory reached out to me. He expressed a desire for my presence, which ought to have been my initial warning sign. Gregory always keeps me at a distance. I'm the relative he tries to ignore. It is absent from his extravagant networking gatherings. His precise words lingered in the mind. Hey, Susie, this night holds great significance for me. Serious individuals will be present. Perhaps it's best to refrain from discussing your ditch digging too extensively. Business, understood? I don't require you to make me feel embarrassed. I ought to have declined. I ought to have specified precisely where he might extend his invitation. Yet here lies my critical weakness. I truly cherish my brother. Buried beneath his bravado lies the child with whom I once crafted blanket forts. The young person who guided me through the art of driving. The individual I believed would forever stand by my side. I agreed because I am seemingly a masochist. After 3 days of searching, I finally discovered the perfect outfit. Not overly elaborate, given Gregory would ridicule me for putting in too much effort. Not overly relaxed, as that would make me appear careless. Who was unable to dress appropriately. I chose dark jeans paired with a cream silk blouse, and the only pair of heels I possess that don't leave me in tears after just 20 minutes. As I stepped into that ballroom, a sense of hope washed over me. Perhaps this could turn out differently. Perhaps Gregory might present me appropriately and I could engage in a typical conversation with individuals who haven't already formed assumptions about me, devoid of value. Upon seeing the venue, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel, recently renovated, stands out in the metropolitan landscape, boasting an acclaimed outdoor terrace, eco-friendly garden elements, and personalized touches, water installation. I have first-hand knowledge, as my company was responsible for the design and construction of everything involved. We completed the project 14 months prior. A bronze plaque adorns the fountain, proudly displaying our company name. Bird, and the company is located right there in the lobby. My brother strolled by it, completely oblivious to its presence. I took hold of a glass of strength. With a glass of champagne, I sought out a secluded nook. That's when I noticed my mother making her grand entrance, moving directly towards Gregory, drawn in like a moth to a flame. She embraced him for a full 30 seconds. When she finally became aware of my presence, I received a quick wave and a glance that conveyed, "Stay out of trouble this evening." "Hello, Mom. I'm doing well. I appreciate your inquiry. My enterprise is flourishing. I have recently brought on board 3 new project managers." "Absolutely, let's dive deeper into the topic of Gregory's attire." A tap on my shoulder interrupted my thoughts as I mentally mapped out my escape plan. And there stood Todd Brennan, my former partner. The man who ended our relationship 8 years ago because I was, in his words, going. "There's no point in pursuing that lawn mowing endeavor of yours." The gentleman who informed me that I possessed lacking drive and destined to achieve nothing. He has undergone a hair transplant since I last saw him. It seemed as though a small, terrified creature had been affixed to his forehead, yet somehow, I was the one who had lost control. "Susie," he spoke as if we were longtime companions, rather than former lovers who hadn't exchanged words in almost 10 years. "Wow, you appear to be the same." "Thank you, Todd. You appear changed. Quite changed. Almost as if your hairline has transformed entirely." I missed the sarcasm. He simply never did. It appears that Todd was the potential investor for Gregory. Naturally, he was. For this, the night was already a disaster in the making. Before I could find a way to excuse myself to escape to literally anywhere else, Gregory, he raised his glass, capturing the attention of everyone in the room. With a single arm, he drew me closer to him. The enormous imitation. A grin spread wide across his face, and then he spoke. "Hello, everyone. Allow me to introduce you to my family. Here is my beloved wife, Vanessa. My amazing mother, Diane. And here is my little stinker sister. No genuine career path, no prospects, merely a laborer." The room burst into. Laughter filled the air. My mother beamed. Todd erupted in a snort of champagne, a moment that brought a rare satisfaction to the entire evening. Enveloped me, and I found myself motionless, contemplating how I had devoted 34 years to love. Individuals who couldn't even feign respect for me. Yet, there's a unique aspect to being underestimated throughout one's life. You begin to observe, you start to be patient, and you become aware of details that others overlook. For instance, how Gregory repeatedly glanced around. His phone, a thin veil of panic evident. The smile that failed to light up his eyes. The manner in which he downed 3 glasses of champagne in 20 minutes. Something felt amiss. An older gentleman in the corner seemed to sense it as well. He wasn't chuckling at Gregory's jest. He observed my brother with the keen gaze of a hawk on the hunt. Our gazes locked from opposite ends of the room. He lifted his glass ever so slightly in my direction. I was completely unaware. I was on the verge of uncovering his identity. But before we proceed, if this tale is capturing your interest, I kindly ask you to subscribe and share your thoughts with me. Please share in the comments where you're tuning in from and the current time and your location. I notice it all. Thank you very much for your support. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Finding myself in the heart of my own personal nightmare. As 200 strangers erupted in laughter, as I stood there, the festivities swirled around me as if nothing had transpired. For to them, it truly hadn't. Gregory's small jest lingered in the air, had already faded into obscurity, merely another instance of socializing for amusement. Yet I could still sense its resonance within me, the heaviness in my chest, that all-too-familiar sensation of being the family's letdown. Vanessa materialized beside me, exuding an air of elegance reminiscent of a stylish vampire, keenly aware of vulnerable prey. My sister-in-law had mastered the craft of delivering compliments that cleverly disguised insults. "Oh, Susie," she cooed, scanning me from head to toe. "Couldn't find anything more appealing to wear." "Well, that's perfectly acceptable for you. Extremely useful." Vanessa donned a dress that likely surpassed the price of my very first truck. Her golden locks were arranged in an intricate updo that demands 3 hours with a professional. She appeared as though she had just emerged from the pages of a magazine, if that. The publication was titled, "Women Who Married for Money Monthly." "Thank you, Vanessa. Your dress is absolutely stunning, extremely snug." I found it difficult to discern whether my actions were kind or otherwise. Vanessa was never able to understand me, and I regarded that as one of my greatest achievements. The following hour unfolded as a profound lesson in the art of social agony. Todd seemed to appear at every turn, creating patronizing remarks suggesting that I ought to seriously think about switching careers before it was too late. My mother cornered me twice to emphasize that Gregory was anxious, and I ought to be encouraging rather than brooding corners. And Gregory himself strutted around the room like a proud peacock, who unveiled the key to everlasting self-satisfaction. Yet I continued to observe, and I found myself increasingly aware. Items. Gregory's investor presentation was dazzling yet lacking in substance. Numerous commitments concerning development and possibilities. There are hardly any concrete figures. The leaders from the company he was merging into exuded an air of sophistication and assurance. Yet they continued to share fleeting looks each time Gregory uttered. The kind of looks that conveyed, "Are you catching this as well? I'm well-versed in business. You don't create a $12 million company without understanding the dynamics of the environment." And this environment was perceiving Gregory as someone who was pushing too aggressively. He ought to. It was at that moment that I caught sight of them. My father sat in a chair by the window, appearing smaller than I remembered. Recalled. When did father become so slender? At 72, he had always exuded a sense of strength. Strong, timeless in the manner that fathers are meant to embody. He appeared weary now, perplexed. His suit draped over him as if it were meant for another person entirely. Mom stood over him, her voice cutting through the air. The soft murmur she employs when she's irritated. Father merely acknowledged with a nod. Not particularly captivating. As I began to approach them, Gregory stepped in my path. "Not at this moment, please." He let out a sharp hiss. "Dad is doing well. Please refrain from causing a disturbance." "I assure you I'm not causing a disturbance. I plan to greet our father later. I require your assistance to interact. Todd believes you could be a valuable connection for some of his less prominent clients. Minor landscaping tasks. Which kind of situation? Having something on your resume would be beneficial for you. I truly own a company, Gregory. I possess a curriculum vitae. It contains various elements." He gestured with a flick of his wrist, a clear sign of disregard. "I know what you mean. What does that imply?" "Genuine encounter, please. Let's not complicate things." I allowed him to guide me away, my mind too bewildered to protest. "Minor landscaping projects, entry-level clients. We recently completed a project for the governor's mansion, however." "Absolutely. Let's begin with something manageable." Todd stood there, wearing a smile that spoke of his recent hair transplant. He embarked on a lengthy discourse regarding his investment philosophy, while I found myself mentally tallying the number of his portfolios I could purchase outright. The response encompassed the majority of them. You know, Susie, he said, leaning in as if he were about to divulge a hidden truth. Your potential was evident to me all along. All you required was guidance. If you had chosen to remain by my side, I could have guided you towards becoming an idea. I transformed into something in your absence, Todd. That's essentially the idea. He chuckled as if I had shared a funny story. That was it's consistently your issue, lacking an understanding of the potential you could unlock with proper direction. I was on the verge of sharing with him precisely where he might offer his direction when I caught Vanessa's voice rising above the throng. She engaged in conversation with a gathering of the women gathered near the bar, their voices rising above the ambient noise, unapologetically loud and lively. Oh, Susie, she has a delightful charm. Honestly, it's rather straightforward. She excavates the earth as her profession. I continually urge Gregory to assist her in discovering a genuine career path, yet family dynamics are something we all understand. They are not yours to select. The women shared a hearty laugh. It's always a pleasure to connect with others and share thoughts. Engaging in conversation can lead to wonderful exchanges and a deeper understanding of one another. I truly value the opportunity to interact and learn from different perspectives. Laughter, the sort that resonates with understanding yet remains non-committal. My mother belonged to that group. She remained silent, neither laughing nor defending. Neither do I. She leisurely sipped her wine, her gaze fixed on the ceiling as if it were the most captivating piece of architecture she had ever encountered. Observed. A fracture formed within me. Not broken. I've honed my skills extensively for that. Yet shattered, like ice preceding it yields. I craved the breath of fresh air. I quietly made my way to the terrace, my rooftop haven, the one designed by my company. The twilight breeze. The air was refreshing, carrying the sweet fragrance of the jasmine we had lovingly planted in the raised beds. All of this was the result of my efforts, my vision, my triumph. No one within was aware of anything at all. At that moment, the older gentleman from earlier made his entrance. The doors. He stood tall, perhaps in his late 60s, with silver hair and a certain kind of an extravagant, casual outfit that conveys, I've reached a level where effort is unnecessary. His watch likely exceeds the total cost of my first 3 years of the amalgamation of business profits. This is stunning, he remarked, gesturing toward the garden beds. The water feature adds such charm, particularly exceedingly refined design. Thank you, he smiled. You accomplished it, didn't you? This terrace. I recognized the style from Morrison Park. I blinked at him. How do you know about Morrison? Park. I came across your project, which won a National Design Award last year, and I found a wonderfully written article about it. Architectural Digest. Susie Fowle, the visionary behind Fowle and Company. He expanded his hand. Warren Beckford. I shook it, still feeling a sense of bewilderment. Should I recognize you? Likely not. I've stepped away from it all now. Devoted 40 years spent in investment banking have given me insight into your brother's kind. He let out a chuckle. I'm also familiar with his company. A knot formed in my stomach. What do you mean? Warren glanced back through the glass doors at Gregory, who was engaging with everyone in the room. That overly bright smile, steadfastly positioned. Your brother is in a predicament, Warren remarked softly. The company finds itself entangled in a federal investigation, facing allegations of securities fraud. The merger he's toasting this evening is far from a cause for celebration. It's a way out. He's attempting to abandon ship before everything is revealed. I sensed the ground shift beneath me. It can't be. Gregory is the favored one, the epitome of success. Warren's expression conveyed a blend of kindness and gravity. The investigation has persisted for 8 months. I still possess colleagues within the field. The company he is about to join is, in essence, purchasing his discretion. Yet they remain unaware of what He paused, contemplating. I'm assuming they remain unaware of what you know as well. Do you see? Warren gestured toward my father, who remained seated by the window, lost in thought. Your father appears troubled, uncertain. Had Gregory been assisting him with his finances? The fissure within me deepened. How did you come to that conclusion? I didn't. However, I've observed this pattern previously. In times of desperation, individuals tend to take from the... I gazed at my father through the glass, feeling the weight of his words about our financial struggles. Trust is a fragile thing, especially when it comes from those we hold dear. I assumed it was merely the economy, perhaps a few poor investments. But what if the situation was more dire? Warren passed me his card. It would be wise to investigate this discreetly. Should you uncover what I believe you will, be aware that the house of cards my brother built teeters on the brink of collapse. The only lingering question is, who will be buried beneath the wreckage? He abandoned me there, frozen in place, on my private terrace, enveloped by my own creations, with an abrupt and dreadful clarity that all my assumptions about my family were misguided. Gregory wasn't a tale of triumph. He was the deceiver, and my father could be his prey. Sleep eluded me. That night I found myself lying in bed, my gaze fixed on the ceiling. Warren Beckford's business card rested on my nightstand, ominous and poised like a ticking bomb. Federal investigation, securities fraud. The phrases echoed in my thoughts like distant thunder. A part of me longed to convince myself it wasn't the reality. Gregory exuded arrogance without a doubt. He was dismissive, undeniably. A truly insufferable individual who'd publicly shamed me in front of 200 people. Undoubtedly, but a wrongdoer that appeared like a stretch even for him. Then I recalled Dad's expression at the party. The bewilderment. The way his suit draped too unrestrained. The manner in which Mom kept reprimanding him as if he were a kid incapable of acting responsibly. I've always had good instincts play a crucial role. In the world of construction, survival hinges on the ability to trust your intuition. When a contractor is being dishonest regarding materials, you sense it. When a client conceals budget issues, you feel it. When something is amiss, your body senses it before your mind can comprehend. My body was shouting that something was deeply, profoundly wrong. At 6 in the morning, I surrendered to the futility of sleep and engaged in my usual ritual when contemplation beckons. I arrived at the job site. Our task was to create a serene Japanese garden for a tech executive nestled in the suburbs, and observing the crew at work brings me a sense of tranquility. I settled into my truck, which has seen a decade of life. Chevy Silverado boasting 200,000 miles, featuring a dent in the tailgate from a past incident. The foreman inadvertently backed into a boulder. I have a deep affection for that truck. It's fully paid off, runs like a dream, and it don't care about the amount of money I make, unlike some family members I could name. The morning sun rose over the future. At the construction site, I reached a pivotal decision. I was determined to uncover the truth. My first step was to call Warren Beckford. He picked up on the second ring, indicating he had been anticipating my call. I requested that he share all the information he had regarding the inquiry regarding Gregory's business, unfolded over a span of 45 minutes. Warren exercised caution, ensuring that only disclose what was generally known or accessible within financial circles, yet it sufficed. Gregory's firm had been manipulating the financial records for years, exaggerating returns, concealing losses, and shifting funds to addressing discrepancies. The SEC had been constructing a case for almost a year. Gregory was not. He was on the verge of losing his job, potentially facing criminal charges. However, Warren also confessed that he was unaware. Everything, the family matters, the personal finances, that's outside my expertise. Yet I recognize the pattern, Susie. When these individuals begin to sense the weight of pressure, they seek out lifeboats. Typically, those lifeboats are owned by others, who place their faith in them, individuals like our father. I expressed my gratitude to Warren and ended the call. After that, I remained in my truck for an additional 20 minutes. Observing my team as they maneuver boulders into place, I contemplate my next strategy. There's a detail about me that my family, I never quite grasped it. I didn't create a $12 million company by mere chance. I constructed it with intention. through a systematic approach, unwavering patience, and an exceptional level of detail. When I embark on a project, I meticulously plan every detail. When confronted with a challenge, I collect all necessary information before taking action. When it comes to making a decision, I ensure I possess the proof to support my claims. Gregory had dedicated his entire existence to undervaluing me. He believed I was my foolish sister who stumbled upon success with her little venture. He was completely unaware of what lay ahead. The first move was to gather intelligence. I called my dad that afternoon, trying to keep my tone light. "Hey, Dad. Just wanted to see how you're doing. How are things?" The conversation began quite typically. He shared stories about his garden. Dad had always found joy in tending to the yard, likely where I discovered my own passion for nurturing growth. However, when I inquired about his visit to the financial advisor last month, the voice has shifted. "Oh, Gregory's taking care of everything now. He mentioned it would be simpler if he coordinated everything in one place. There's something to be said for improved outcomes." I maintained a cheerful tone regardless. The alarm bells are ringing in my mind. How considerate of him. "So Gregory has access to your accounts. He holds power over them." "Attorney," Dad said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Your mother insisted. She said I was getting too old to manage the intricate matters." Authority to act on behalf. My 38-year-old sibling had power of attorney over our 72-year-old father's finances, and nobody had bothered to tell me. I ended the call with a cheerful goodbye and immediately called my attorney. Rachel Park has been my business lawyer for 8 years. She's handled everything from contract disputes to employee issues, and she's the smartest person I know when it comes to protecting assets. I told her what I suspected, and she went quiet for a long moment. "Susie, if what you're telling me is true, this could be elder financial abuse. That's a serious crime. I know you need to be careful here. If you're wrong, you could damage your family relationships permanently." "If you're right," she paused. "If you're right, your brother could go to prison." "I know that too." Rachel recommended a private investigator she'd worked with before, a guy named Frank Moretti, who specialized in financial fraud. I called him within the hour. Frank was gruff, direct, and completely unimpressed by family drama. "Just tell me what you need and I'll find it," he said. "Save the soap opera for the holidays." "I think my brother has been stealing from my father. I need proof." Frank said he'd have preliminary information within 2 weeks. He warned me that I might not like what he found. "I'm prepared for that," I told him. But I wasn't. Not really. While Frank dug into the financial records, I did my own research. I called the city assessor's office and found out that there was a new lien on my father's house, a lien that had been filed 6 months ago. Dad had lived in that house for 35 years, owned it free and clear since I was in high school. Now suddenly there was a $200,000 debt attached to it. My hands were shaking when I hung up the phone. I also discovered something interesting about the firm Gregory was supposedly merging into. They were legitimate, successful, well-respected, but they had a reputation for being extremely cautious about partnerships. They did extensive due diligence, background checks, financial audits, the works, which meant either they hadn't finished their research on Gregory yet, or someone had given them incomplete information. Warren had mentioned he still had contacts in the industry. I wondered just how much influence a retired investment banker might still have. 3 days after the party, I drove to visit my parents. Not to confront anyone. I needed more evidence for that. I just needed to see my father to assess the situation with my own eyes. What I found made my blood run cold. Dad was worse than he looked at the party. He seemed confused about basic things. What day it was, whether he'd eaten lunch. Mom kept answering questions for him, talking over him like he wasn't there. I managed to get Dad alone for a few minutes while Mom was in the kitchen. I asked him directly about his finances. His eyes got cloudy. "I don't know, honey. Gregory says everything's fine, and he's taking care of it. Do you know how much money is in your retirement account, Dad?" He couldn't answer. He didn't know. He didn't even know which bank his accounts were in anymore. Gregory takes care of everything, he repeated like a mantra.